Good morning. Welcome to week 1 lecture. This week our reading was titled, What is Academic Writing? And I'm not going to go over the entire essay, but we are going to talk about some of the main points here in my PowerPoint. So one of the first things that he addresses is success in writing and what it takes to be successful. One of the main things is how well you understand what it is you're going to write. And along with that, how you are going to approach a writing task. And this would be writing process. And then he goes in to talk about some myths of the writing process. Myth number 1, paint by numbers. Writing is not a formula, and it's not meant to be. He talks about the writing process as being recursive, which means circular or repetitive. And what this means is we might go through the steps of the writing process in a different order or come back to different steps. So maybe we will pre-write and then we'll start to draft, and then maybe we're not happy with what we came up with, so we decide to pre-write again. Maybe we really like revising and editing, so we do this along with our pre-writing or drafting. But we usually don't go through each step in order and only one time. We usually come back to different steps of the writing process as we complete a writing assignment, and that's okay, that's normal. You want to do what works for you. Myth number 2, only start writing when you have everything figured out. Writing can help you figure out what it is you want to say. So I always say get started as soon as possible. Just start writing and see what comes up, and then you can go from there. But it's always good to get started early. Myth number 3, perfect first drafts. So if you read Anne Lamont's essay for this week's discussion titled Shitty First Drafts, you'll see that even professional writers have to just get started. And rarely is their first draft the perfect one that they're going to use. They come back and revise and edit just like we do. Myth number 4, the genius fallacy. There's so many students that are just like, I'm not good at English, I'm not good at writing. Well, writing takes practice. That's why we're all here. And even professionals need to practice. And so all I have to say about that is just get started early and take your time going through the steps of the writing process, and you will get the practice you need, and you'll take the time you need to be successful in a writing assignment. Myth number 5, good grammar is good writing. Well, there is way more to writing than the grammar. It's your ideas and how you put them in order and your paragraph structure. So grammar is important, but it's definitely not everything. Myth number 6, the 5-paragraph essay. Many of us were taught that this was the best way to organize an essay. You have an introduction and then your 3 body paragraphs and your conclusion. Well, writing is not a formula, and you don't want to limit yourself to this one way of writing. It's better to use different organizational structures for different types of essays. So sometimes the 5-paragraph essay works perfect, and then for other essays, you'll have to switch it up and do a different pattern. And we'll talk about that with each essay that we begin to write in this class. Myth number 7, never use I in writing. Most of us were taught to not use I, and still it's not always appropriate, but sometimes it's okay. If you're describing a personal experience, like your first 2 essays for this particular class, you will be talking about your own experience, and one of them you'll be describing a photograph. So that's okay to use I. But then later in the class, when we start writing more academically and you'll write an argument essay, you don't need to say I. You don't need to say I think or I believe. Then you would use third person point of view. But again, anytime we begin a writing assignment, I will make sure to address that so you know which to do. And then finally, the author goes into the writing situation and just brings up other parts of the writing different elements of writing that we need to keep in mind, because there's more to writing than just your message or what you're trying to say. So for example, audience. Who is the target audience for this particular assignment or what it is you're writing? For the assignments in this class, our classmates will be our audience. The occasion or context, which is the circumstance or situation in which the piece of writing is being written. Your message, so that is what you are wanting to say through your writing. And then your purpose. Is it meant to inform? Is it meant to persuade? Is it meant to entertain? And then finally, genre. What type of writing is it? Is it a poem? Is it a short story? Is it an academic essay? What type of writing is it? So now it's time for you to go on and take your week 1 reading quiz. And I hope everyone has a great week. And just reach out if you have any questions.